Last time out, the treacherous terrain of Snowshoe broke a chain and the momentum of Walker Fowler and led to another battle between the Snowshoe Killers, Brian Wolf and Adam McGill. McGill wins. Everything seems to be changing in the GNCC series. What'll happen today? We're back. A long summer break is over, and one of the most traditional events in this sport, the Can-Am Unadilla GNCC, is ready to go. This is round 10 of the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Maxxis, an AMA National Championship. Yes, Unadilla, up until 2005, they had never even run an off-road race at these hallowed motocross grounds. But since then, this has staked a claim as the largest GNCC of all, and they expect over 2,000 entries this weekend, which would break an all-time series record. Probably break a record of almost any series ever. We'll start it with our ATV coverage today. Chris Borich coming in, your defending series champ. That's no surprise. What is a surprise? The challenge Walker Fowler has put to him. And then there's Adam McGill, a second and a first at our last two races, so he is on fire as well. But the big X factor, the annual summer break. We did not race at all in July and August. Here we are in September, ready to duke it out. Can Chris Borich get back to his old winning ways, or is the momentum continuing to break in the direction of McGill and Fowler even after the summer break? We're going to find out right here. Let's wave the green flag and go racing. The Can-Am Unadilla GNCC. Bumping and banging through the first turn, and look at McGill. Not only grabs the Twin Air DeRisi Racing Hole Shot Award, but has time to give a little hand signal as well. Glad he got the good start because he's got a cool-looking graphic plastic gear combo there running the blue Honda today, and at least he'll stay a little bit cleaner, a little bit longer by getting out front. Hey, sometimes better to look good than to feel good, although apparently McGill's got both going for him right now. Look at the fans out here in the woods. This is a hardy group of New York fans. Huge crowd for a motorcycle race tomorrow, so you know a lot of them are here scouting the trail today. And one of the biggest factors with this many people on hand, racing-wise, is lap traffic. It's always an issue in GNCC, but it's going to be probably a bigger issue today than anywhere. McGill leading the way uphill. Braden Henthorn right behind him. Here is Borich, who has stepped up his game on the starts this year. Not super buried back there. Everyone else coming through. You see the headlights of Chase Shadra. That has made him pretty distinctive this year. Wow, we got a real challenge. Henthorn trying to go for the lead on McGill. That is Fowler on the Yamaha, who was in third. Ahead of Borich. Then the number 9, Bryson Neal and Shadron. It's been a recurring story all year long. A whole bunch of these kids coming through the amateur ranks really started to make noise. Henthorn, Neal, Shadron, a couple of others are proving they have what it takes to run with the traditional established players in the game. One of these days, as we see Chris Bithell join the group, one of these days, one of those kids is finally going to get to victory lane. But every week down the stretch, the veterans end up shutting them down. And it looks like Fowler has already moved into the lead with Borich right behind and McGill pushed back to third. So must have been a mistake there for the 521 of McGill. And the field pretty close early on in this one. Well, they're close for every position except this. Look at Fowler again. And is this not shades of what we saw at Snowshoe? It took him almost no time to get the lead and then start opening it up. Borich really having to hustle to keep Fowler in sight. Now, Borich, we know all about the last lap charges. That's where he makes his money and does his damage. But I think Borich is experienced enough to know this is different. Fowler is on a whole nother level, and you can't wait until the last lap to keep him in sight. Now onto the traditional motocross track here at Unadilla. A couple of years ago, Fowler was launching the Sky Shot, a huge tabletop here. They are not jumping that thing this year. I think it got a little out of hand for cross-country machines, especially considering the suspension not set up for that. Borich really trying hard to chase down Fowler, but the Yamaha N-Fab AmPro backed rider is just gone. Back into the woods, and look at this. I mean, that is ridiculous speed. And I don't think you see Borich hustle quite this much on the opening lap often. He has no choice. McGill trying to keep pace. I like what's shaping up here. I can tell you, when Borich had to wrestle the championship away from Bill Balance, and it was a wrestling match. It was almost 3 years of combat between those two, and the intensity just kept rising and rising and rising. But right now, Walker Fowler is the new kid on the block. He is putting the heat on Borich. Let's see if the champ can respond. GNCC Racing is brought to you by AMSOIL, by Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and by Can-Am. Into the pits we go. Walker Fowler putting on a clinic early on. Yes, that was a corner. Hard to tell with the speed he generated through it. Through the Yamaha pits, thumbs up, all systems go. Remember, though, he had a big lead just like this at our last race at Snowshoe. Snapped the chain, didn't finish. So everyone else in the field, Chris Borich running second, and the rest, they've got to know that it's a race, a long race, an off-road race. Anything can happen. But this is crazy. We don't normally see gaps like this at a GNCC ATV event early. But I can't help but feel watching this stuff that something has changed. Here's McGill giving the high sign to his crew. Normally these guys wait each other out, feel each other out. They learn the track, they figure out the lines, they run information. And then maybe the halfway mark, they really put the hammer down. But I feel that Fowler's speed right now is so great that there's literally no reason to play the game that way. He just is going to go as fast as he can and get away from these guys. Now, if you're Borich and you're a champ, you're smart, you're going to respond to that. You're not going to hold back either. And because of that, these two have really stretched it out. And McGill is no slouch, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, a second and a first at our last two races, and he is normally lightning quick in the early laps. See, Bithell has moved up to fourth. It just seems to me here early in this one, it looks more like a race looks toward the end of the day at a traditional race. We've seen this year a lot of those young kids, Neil and Shadron and the rest, are able to run with these guys for the first couple of laps, and then eventually the veterans start to move them by the wayside. All that stuff happened very quickly today, and I think it's all in response to the pace that Fowler has put down, to the response from Borich. They can't wait any longer. This terrain out here at Unadilla is awesome. Out of the Woods has some of the best dirt that will run on all year. The only drawback of this event is they don't have as much acreage as far as woods as some of the other rounds. So the track isn't quite as long, probably about a mile or so shorter. Well, is this the new thing to take the left hand off the bar and give signals to people? Now Fowler is doing it like McGill did. Anyway, the shorter track is fine if you're just riding it by yourself. It will be a problem when it comes to lap traffic earlier. They'll probably run into lappers more quickly than they usually do. Good battle back here between Bithell, who's got around McGill, and Jared McClure on the number 10 in that fight as well. They all want a podium finish. Back onto the motocross track. Here is Fowler airing out the double. It's the back section of the moto track. That's a very tough jump, this second double, to get up over. And I don't think anyone's going for it today. Again, they will tame the jumps down, so the cross-country guys aren't tempted to do some of these things. Big difference in suspension setup on an ATV here compared to what we'd have in the Mountain Dew ATV Motocross Championship. First of all, they have to be narrower to fit into the trails and the trees. And when you run narrower or shorter front A-arms, you have a lot less wheel travel. Suspension softer, the ride height's a lot different. They're not set up for jumping. They're set up for those rocks and tree roots and things like that in the woods. I don't think these guys can't air it out. Pretty impressive, though. But you completely unleash them on a motocross track. They are very, very fast. But that's not the goal today. Usually the story when there's a motocross track here, the riders will tell you, you can make up a second or two here and there on the moto track. But when you're doing half-hour laps, a second or two isn't a big deal. It's not worth the risk. And we also see some rain coming down, and that's part of the Unadilla tradition also here in upstate New York. Guarantee some sort of inclement weather throughout the weekend. That's not a problem for these boys. They run mudders in the woods a lot. They know how to handle it. What they don't know how to handle is Fowler, who's getting away. Bithel's up to third. See if he and Borich can maybe work together to chase the kid down. Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL, by Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and by Can-Am. All right, let's get down to the heavyweights, the 4x4 Pro class, an awesome new addition of the GNCC series this year. Taking the best of all our 4x4 divisions and said, have at it, boys, in one row. Brian Buchanan has been the man on the move lately. He's won the last 2 races, including first overall in our morning race at Snowshoe. Kevin Trantham here on the lead early on the Can-Am Renegade. Also got to watch for riders Michael Swift, Rick Checo. That's what makes this class so exciting. These are guys who have dominated other divisions of GNCC 4x4 racing. Robert Smith is right in the hunt also. There's Swift going by. Jordan Phillips, another rider who's proven himself as a race winner this year. Here's Trantham leading the way as they roll through the pits. Buchanan trying to chase him down. Phillips in the hunt. Got the Polarises of Swift and Checo also now back in the woods. This terrain not a challenge for the big 4x4s. Our last event at Snowshoe, they really earned their money in the big rocks and the mud and hill climbs. Here it's pretty fast. And these are still 700-pound machines, although they come a long way suspension-wise. Here's Smith battling it out on this uphill. And late in the race, Michael Swift, you saw him at the back of that train early, would get his Polaris all the way to the number 1 spot. Buchanan would be the one trying to run him down. And Trantham keeping them in sight as well. So Buchanan's 2-race win streak on the line, and it's going to be Michael Swift who upsets him and makes it happen. First win of the year for Swift on the factory Polaris UXC racing machine, ATV Parts Plus backed. Buchanan finishes second, and there is Trantham in third. So we added another winner to the pile in that class. That is going to be very fun to watch. We go back to our afternoon pro race. We don't know how this one's going to finish up, both today and in the championship as well. Borich really hustling, and we're into the lap traffic. Like I said, it's going to be difficult today, and that's going to be a saving grace if you're second, third, fourth place, because Fowler, your leader, is going to be the first to hit the lappers. Once he hits them, then they know it's time to stepping out of the way. So he's going to be very aggressive, but also very smart, moving through traffic. Borich hitting the lappers as well, but at this point, they already know that he's coming because Fowler got by them as well. Hasn't made much of a dent, though, in Fowler's lead, at least at this point, but it's easier to pass him in those field sections, the grass track by the pits, than it is. I mean, there's only one line in these wooded sections at times, as you can see. So far, so good, though, for the number 2 out of Ohio. And we've talked about it the last couple of years. Everyone believes that Fowler has the pedigree to eventually become the one who takes the number 1 plate away from Borich. But the question is it going to happen sooner or later? I mean, Borich certainly has the stuff to win many, many more of these championships. And when he opened up a big points lead early, it sure looked like another one was coming his way. Halfway through the year, though, Fowler has found a groove. And had it not been for the DNF while leading last week at Snowshoe, he could be the points leader in this series right now. Instead, Borich has a nice, comfortable gap. But you don't get to be a 5-time champ like Borich is without knowing the mental game. And he knows it's not just about the math at the end of the day. You can't let this kid on the number 2 just keep hanging W's up, because that's confidence. So Borich going to hustle here. Bithell doing the same. Good run in third on the Loctite. Maxxis back Suzuki. Back to the moto track is Fowler. And I think Fowler's just having fun here in the motocross portion of the track, and then tries to do his work in the woods. Maxxis back Suzuki of Borich, still giving chase. Looks like we're going to do 6 laps today, and nearing the halfway mark, lead is hovering around 50 seconds between Fowler and Borich. can get tough at this point. It's kind of no man's land. Fowler doesn't have anyone to pace himself off of. He doesn't really know what Borich is doing. And that's the difference when you run this type of strategy. I talked about it at the beginning of the race. Normally these guys all stay close to each other so they know what's going on. Fowler is kind of riding blind right now. Looks like McClure has moved up to third. He's gotten around Bithell, so a couple of riders have had that spot. There's McGill there also. He was in third at one point. They're all swapping that thing throughout this race. Back to your leader, who is back toward the finish area, so halfway through it. Now we reach a stretch run. 1 lap to go. Walker Fowler looking for his third win in 4 races. Chris Borich still in second. That means that Fowler's not going to make up a ton of points today, but Borich not going to be happy about losing these races. Let's see if he can do anything about it. Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL, by Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and by Can-Am. Well, every time Walker Fowler comes through the pit area, he's on the outside of a lap rider, shaking his head, but he's been able to deal with it. Second rider in your screen here is Chris Borich. He's going to be able to get inside of a lap rider. Borich going to put in an all-out charge here. We said it for years, the last lap is where he makes his money, but normally he doesn't enter the last lap with this type of a deficit. At one point we mentioned it was a 50-second lead for Fowler. Then Borich whittled it down to 37, then 29 here with a lap to go. So it's a lot closer than it was, but a lot of times Borich enters those last laps right on your grab bar, eating your roost, setting you up. Here he still has 30 seconds to make up, and you can see the champ is pushing now. So we're going to see if going fast early like Fowler or going fast late like Borich is going to win the day. And well done for this man, Jared McClure, working on another podium. I believe this will be 3 in a row for him. Kid out of Maryland, closer and closer to finally getting a win in this series. Bithell back there on the number 4 in 4th. Looks like McClure has gotten away from him. Here we are on the uphill. Whoa, things getting a little dicey for Fowler. He's been by himself all day long. It's going to be a game of mental toughness at this point. I would have think at 2 years ago, maybe 1 year ago, Fowler would just be thinking, where's Borich? Where's Borich? Almost anticipating the battle coming. I'm not so sure now if he feels that way. We're going to find out. You make one little mistake in the last lap like this, and you have Chris Borich closing. Oh, man, you start to get awfully nervous. So we'll see if the experience that Fowler has gained these last few years will pay off. Can he shrug that type of thing off? Can he just run his own race, his own pace, not think about who's coming behind him? A little far off to the left side of the track there, lost a little momentum. Borich catching the pit board here. He's got to get through a thicket of lappers. Still trying to close it up, and I think he actually has whittled a few more seconds off of Fowler's lead. McClure still solid in third, back into the woods. Time running out now if you're Borich to catch Fowler. He is going faster, but that 29-second gap he started with, or deficit, at the beginning of this lap, it's going to make it very tough. And it appears to me that Fowler is actually weaving his way through the traffic a little more effectively. They say here now it's actually stretched back out, and Fowler has pulled out to a 1-minute lead again over Borich. So the last lap charge not materializing today. I think it's another sign of maturity from this rider. We all know he has the talent and speed. He's a multi-time champ in the youth and amateur ranks on both ATVs and bikes. But now he's figured out how to deal with the pressure, how to manage the race, how to manage the charge from Chris Borich. Walker Fowler wins again. 3 out of 4, and he led every lap here in upstate New York. And look at the lappers. Borich just had no shot here down the stretch. But we knew that'd be tough today. A little bit shorter track, more entries than usual. Oh man, lappers are tough at Unadilla, although normally that affects the leader more than anyone, but really in cross-country racing, and it's often just timing. You hit him in a one-line section like this, there's not much you can do, And you can see the body language of Borich there. He knows there wasn't much he could do today. He's got to settle for second. Still a nice points lead, but he wants to win races. Meanwhile, probably happiest guy of all on the podium will be third. Jared McClure doing it again. The AMSOIL results. Shadron up to 5th. Bryson Neal 6th. Yoho was close battling those kids down the stretch. He was 7th. Henthorne, Merritt, and Johnny G. Johnny Gallagher ran out the top 10. McGill had mechanical issues and did not finish. Point standings, it's a 19-point lead now for Borich. You get 30 points for a win. So Fowler going to have to hope for some bad luck for the champ. He wants to make up ground. There's, by the way, a 5-point gap between a victory and a second-place finish. Let's give the AMSOIL race recap. Adam McGill won our last race and started this one off where he left off leading it, grabbing the Twin Air DeRisi Racing hole shot. But it wasn't long before Walker Fowler got around. He just couldn't be held back on this day. Got the lead, extended the lead, maintained the lead, and even when Chris Borich tried to put in one of his patented last lap charges, the number 2 just shrugged it off. Make sure he was number 1 for the day. Good run by McClure. He had to get through McGill and Bithell to take third. The story, Walker Fowler just keeps on rolling. Thanks for watching.